Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Fountain of Youth with Andy. I am joined here with my dear friends Erin and Margie Schwarting. And today,
Hello.
we want to talk a little bit about getting old. What are your thoughts, you two? What does getting old mean to you?
I am 59 years old and I feel better now than I did in my 30s. So getting old to me is just making the best of each and every day. You don't have to get old. That's a story that people tell themselves and they buy into whatever society tells them, but you're only as old as you feel. So that's my story and I'm sticking to it.
Yes.
I love
So
it. I love it.
so I'm 55 and I still go to the gym 5 days a week, strength training, Pilates, and I work once or twice a week substitute teaching, and I just have energy all the time, and I feel like I'm a grandma, and people say, "Hey, you don't look like a grandma, so I must be aging well."
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
love it. I love it, because it's funny as a functional nutrition longevity coach, everyone always asks, what did I do? And I said, well, I help people live a long time. And the first thing they say, well, why would you live a long time? You're going to be miserable. And I'll say, I don't know about you. I'm going to be having fun growing old. And but you're going to be pushing around. You're going to be lying around in a bed. And like you said, Erin, that's not what getting old means to me. Right. And this is really what this show is about. Fountain of Youth is trying to dispel some of these myths around getting old, around all these problems that when you age, you break down. So let's chime in a little bit about this. What is the common beliefs that people have about getting old?
You want me to start?
Yeah, why don't you start with you? We start with you, Erin, the first time around. So love it.
So there's a lot of common myths, like exactly what you just said. When you get old, then you're going to feel like your knees and your whole body's going to be in pain, and there's going to be a wheelchair involved, and you're going to lose teeth, and this and this and this, and like all these different things, all these bad things are going to happen with age. Oh, you don't want to get old. You don't want to get old. And it's a program. It's literally a program in our subconscious mind that we take on as beliefs in society that getting old is a bad thing. And it's prevalent in this country for sure. There's other countries that are doing Tai Chi and they're doing like all these amazing youthful exercises and meditations and that you could do to keep you young. And that's why I said earlier, you're only as old as you feel. And it's funny because like Margie, when you said you're a grandma, I go out with another grandma yet. But when I go out with my kids, like my oldest my son is 27. And when he introduces me, we'll be in a crowd or whatever, and he'll introduce me to his friends. And even if they're older, and they always say, "That's your mom?"
that's great. That's your mom. Beautiful.
And it's like, yeah, I'm his mom. And I was 30. No, I was 32 when I had him. So it's not like I was young and had him. But there's a lot of myths about what we have to suck up and about what we have to, it's commiserating and just a lot of people talking amongst themselves about how bad it is. It's really bad, and again, it's reinforcing that it has to be bad, and it doesn't. I have 4 businesses. At 59 years old, 4 businesses, and I'm just getting started with 3 kids, single mom, taking care of my own home, and I don't want to slow down. Like life is fun. Life is really, 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 really good. When you tap into the right things, and later on, I want to talk about what medications can do to our body and to our mind, which is not healthy, but I'll wait until you bring that up.
Of course. How about you, Margie? Like what are some things you hear, people complain about getting old that of course the 3 of us aren't complaining about.
Right. Well, I recently heard from a new role model of mine that we all are in charge of writing our own stories.
Yeah.
And I see people who are so sick with high blood pressure,
Mhm.
debilitating arthritis, chronic pain, and they're like, I can't do this. And they just sit on the couch because if they don't want to go outside because they don't feel well, but they don't realize that getting up and going outside and getting in the sun could heal them. So the story that they need to write is, I can overcome this. I could eat better. I could exercise. I could socialize and talk to other people and encourage each other to stop feeling the aging process and do something about it. Write your story that you're going to live. Don't let the doctors say, hey, you're going into hospice, and then you just have to give up because you're in hospice. No, you still have a chance. You still have a chance to survive. You just have to choose the right things to do for yourself and for your body to have a happy ending to your story.
I love it. I love what you two shared on that. And, as a longevity coach, I do see people that do get old, before their time. And, I was one of those, right? So what the first thing I want to dispel is your age on your driver's license does not mean you're getting old, right? Just because you have a higher number doesn't mean you're old. What determines how old you are, and this is what we really want to share today, is, let me pop this little slide on here.
Mhm.
Let's see if we can get it working. Hold on a sec here. I love technology when it doesn't work.
Well, it did work
My
before.
slide. Of course, that's sideways. That's not what I want. Hold on.
There we
So
go.
everybody in the audience, turn your head to the left.
Tilt it. Tilting.
Oh my gosh. What the? Okay.
So what?
There we
There you
go.
go.
Technology. Here we
There
go.
you go.
Anyways,
That's what's funny
you
about
know,
time.
what people
Otherwise,
don't
I have it right
realize,
there. There you go.
there you go. What people don't realize, when we're young, you remember when we get hurt, we skin our knee, we catch a cold, we rebound really quickly. And that's because we had so much healthy stem cells in our body. So at around 20, we got about 1 billion stem cells. And it's funny because growing up, we always hear 30 is when your metabolism slows down. 30 is when you start getting fat, you start getting brain fog and all that stuff, right? That's what you hear, the big 30. Well, guess what? It's not because you're 30 and old. It's because you lost 40% of your stem cells. So think
Yeah.
about that. Where you are, you repaired so quickly before. Now you're not repairing as quickly. And that's pretty why, you're starting to feel your age. And, 50 is where the three of us are right now. And we
Mhm.
lost 75% of our stem cells.
Wow.
We didn't. The three of us, of course, we didn't. But
Right.
in general, most people have only about 25% of healthy stem cells left. And think about that. It's like a lot of people, they think that they can still exercise at the same intensity as when they're in 20 and 30s. You just cannot, because your body does not have the ability to repair itself,
Yeah.
right? This is just a fact, right? It's not because we're getting old. It's because our stem cells are declining. And, unfortunately, Erin told us about her age, which she looks like she's half her age. She says she's 59, but for most people at 60, they
Yeah.
lost 90% of their stem cells. 90%, Erin. Think about
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
Right.
right?
Crazy.
Before you joined us with LifeWave, you lost 90% of your
I
stem cells.
know. I know. I feel so much better. Oh my God.
Exactly.
I can't wait
Exactly.
to
And
get
then
into it.
for all those out there that's 80 and above, you only got maybe 5% of your stem cells. So to
Wow.
me, I think that is a big wake-up call for a lot of us. It isn't the age on our driver's license that
Yeah.
dictates, us getting old. It is dictated by our active stem cells, right? So yeah,
Right.
I love to jump in on that, Margie. What are we sharing today that helps people elevate their stem cells?
So we are trying to introduce you to the X39 patch made by LifeWave. And if you do put one of these patches on, one daily, 12 hours a day, 12 hours off, what you could expect from just the first few days of wearing this patch. 4,000 genes begin to reset Within 24 hours, the stem cell activation patch, which is the X39, begins to reset 3,000 to 4,000 genes to a younger, healthier state. So this is where your inflammation is, which is what's causing a lot of these injuries and aches and pains and diseases and sicknesses. So to me, wearing this, when my friend told me about it, I didn't even have to research it first. I just like, okay, yes, I believed him. But it's a year in now, and I've done so much research, and I've seen so many results. And then within 1 to 3 months, physical
Margie,
change.
before we jump into the 1 to
Right?
3 months, I want
Okay,
to
let's
touch
go
in
with the
a
first
little
few
bit
days.
about that.
Okay.
I want to touch in a little bit about that, and I want Erin to jump in on this, right? Because
Yes.
when it comes to root causes, right? For what I do when I help people about, when people say, "Oh, what's the difference between functional nutrition and longevity?" People need to realize you always hear from doctors, "Oh, you got the breast cancer gene, or you got the Alzheimer's gene, you got the diabetes gene," right? The importance, what you just said there, it resets 4,000 genes to a more useful state, also means you have the ability to turn on or off bad genes. So I want to bring Erin in a little bit because Erin had cancer, right? And cancer is one of those situations where when people say, "Oh, you have cancer," it's usually a death sentence, right?
Yeah.
But then cancer is also one of those genes that can be turned on and turned off. So, Erin, you talked a little bit about, a little bit about drugs. And I want you to dive in a little bit about that because I don't want people thinking that, like I said, modern medicine is so important. I think that is great for, repairing your body. Like in my car accident, he put me back together. Not like $6 million man, but I'm back together. That's what I want. But but when it comes down to medication, so many people depend on that. So I love for you to dig in a little bit about your journey with cancer, all the medication that you got into, and where you are now.
It's amazing. Okay, so the cancer was a long time ago. The cancer was in
Yeah.
1991. So I was 25 years old, and it was 2.5 years of crazy chemotherapy and radiation. 2.5 years of adriamycin, Cytoxan, BCNU, RC, like things that and the doses I was getting were beyond the local cancer hospital legal limits that I was getting in Sloan Kettering in Manhattan. So I was bombarded by it. And the medicines have side effects. The medicines, they just, it'll fix one thing and then it screws something else up as, it saves your life. And the cancer I had was deadly. They said if the chemo didn't work as fast as the tumor was growing, I'd be dead in a month. It was a rapid growing cancer, lymphoblastic. Blastic means fast. And non-Hodgkin's, lymphoblastic lymphoma. So I know what it's like to be the professional patient. So does Margie, with the cancer, and then 2.5 years of nonstop, bombarded with the round the clock chemo and everything else. And to see the difference between that and this, and I'm not saying that this is going to cure cancer or that this is going to be a replacement of chemotherapy or anything like that. What I am going to say is in 2022, I was diagnosed with congestive heart failure because the chemotherapy left me with a cardiomyopathy. And then I got the vaccine, I ended up with congestive heart failure. So I was treated with that. The medicines that I was on for 2 years started debilitating me. Like I was dizzy. I couldn't walk. I felt like pressure against me because I was on the meds for too long. And that was all that they had. The doctor said that was it. That was those medicines, those 4 medicines were all they had for what I had. And I I said this last time, but for those of you that didn't hear it, I was in Scottsdale, and our mutual friend, Michelle, was like, I was holding onto chairs to get to the back of the lounge because we were speaking on stage over that weekend, and I could not walk. I couldn't walk. And so I'm holding on, I'm getting to the back. My equilibrium was off. And my friend Michelle said, "I know exactly what you need." And she sent her husband upstairs to grab one of these patches. And at first I was like, really, a patch? I'm so used to meds. I'm so used to, like the medicine patch, Now I'm very much into meditation and visualization and that kind of stuff holistically. But with regard to medicine, I couldn't understand what a patch was going to do. So, but at the time I was like, do anything, So she slapped the patch on my neck, and literally within an hour, I had clarity. I couldn't believe it because I was like, how am I going to speak on stage? You know, I speak on stage tomorrow. I can't even stand up. I can't even walk. How am I going to do this? You know, and within an hour, I had clarity. And from that moment on, I was hooked. And then I'm always researching, always. You know, like when I had the cancer, I was like Rhonda Byrne from the beginning of the movie, The Secret. I couldn't get enough of the personal development when I tapped into it. And with this, I was researching and I was talking to other people, you know, that knew about it. And I am just blown away by the crystals, because with each patch, the crystals are in a different kind of a set and alignment and stuff like that to treat different things. And with the X39 to activate the stem cells, I mean, I'm like Andy said, I'm going to be 60, you know, and so, you know, I have a percentage of stem cells, if I didn't do this, left to work with, you know, with my history of everything that I've had. And I'm leaving out a bunch of stuff along the way, miscarriages, you know, all these different things along the way medically. But just to cut to the chase, the fact that I'm able to regenerate and activate the stem cells that are dormant and have a much better, everything is about vitality. You know, how you feel, it's the energy within you, your vitality. And a lot of people, as they get older and they lose these stem cells, they lose their vitality. They can't do the things that they love to do. They can't dance anymore. They can't go to dinner with friends. They don't have the stamina. You know, they can't exercise. They can't just hang out with their kids or clean the house. They don't have the stem cells. They don't have the stamina. To be given a new lease on life, you know, with a patch that costs less than a cup of coffee a day.
Yes.
I drink hot chocolate. You know, less than a cup of hot chocolate a day that I get from Starbucks. It's just absolutely miraculous. And I said it last time. I'll say it every time. I cannot wait to shake that man, David Schmidt's hand and just thank him for combating all of the things that we're being bombarded with, medicines that are going on for too long. Now, medicine has its place, and I thank God for medicine when we're in crisis. But the medicine is not going to take the crisis out of us. That's work that we need to do. Like if we have a prolonged illness, it means that we need to work on stress, you know, like all these, you know, things that we're like, whether it's grief that we're holding down or all these different things, that's what we need to work on so we don't keep getting this. Medicine's not going to get rid of that. You know, it's a Band-Aid. So in order to heal in a holistic way, the X39 to me is miraculous with regard to supporting the body to get back to code, because the body's regenerating itself all the time. The cells are regenerating itself all the time. Yes. So to be able to support that and feel younger and younger and younger every day, you know, like it's just, it's amazing. And I can't wait till tomorrow.
I love that. I love that. And Margi, you know, Erin suffered cancer and a whole bunch of other stuff, right?
Yes.
I know you have some autoimmune conditions and you had your fair share of drugs that you had in your system too.
And cancer. And she had cancer.
She had cancer also. I was not even aware of that. So she's got everything too.
Twice.
So,
Twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 years clean from a double mastectomy from an aggressive estrogen-produced cancer. And 2 years before that, I had thyroid cancer, had my thyroid out. And after the birth of my first child, 1996, I had lupus, and I had my fingers were so crippled, so crippled. And, you know, things like that and healing from them, you're just like, wow, am I going to die? And then you could get in that mindset and you could let it take over, but not anymore, because now I know, and with the statistics and using this LifeWave X39, you know, that 90-year-old could have the insides of a 50-year-old and repairing all the damage that was done so they could live longer in a more prosperous life, a more healthy life, a better life with no pain. So I don't know why people don't just give it a try. We really, really believe in it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing the show right now.
Totally.
Exactly.
You know?
And I want to bring this slide back up. If you take a look at this slide, you know,
look at that.
What I didn't tell people is these numbers are for normal people that never got cancer, that never had any traumatic car accidents, that did not get lupus. You ladies had cancer. You ladies had, other things.
Autoimmune.
So think
Yes.
about it. Every time you get cancer, you're wiping out stem cells. So for you guys, even before you guys look amazing now, by the way. But
Oh,
like even in your age, in your 50s, you probably only had that 5% of the stem cells. Like your body was actually much older than it was your driver's license, because you were depleting all those stem cells with everything that already happened to your body. Right. So,
This is
in the
true.
beginning, when I was talking about, there are people that are, having a lot of pain and suffering. Well, this can really benefit from you because you have depleted your stem cells so much earlier on than everyone else. And like what Erin says, medication is not going to help you repair. It may cover some of the pain, it'll cover some of the symptoms, but it's not going to cover the repair of your body, because stem cells, that's God's given way of repairing your body. And if you don't have them, guess what? Your body's not going to repair itself, right?
Right. Absolutely.
It's true.
And when I met Margie, well, it was, I had known Margie, and then our kids went, this is over 20 years ago, and our kids were in pre-K together. And Margie was so sick, right, Margie? You were just
I was so
sick when and I'd see her, and I'd see her struggling, bringing her daughter Faith, my son Danny, who are now 23 years old, which is crazy, but to pre-K. And I'm not going to say the name of the product, but I was like, just try this. It was a holistic thing. I'm like, just try this. And she went and she had her numbers checked, and the doctor said to her, I don't know what you're doing, but like, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. These patches and this product 20 years later blows that one away.
Oh, yes.
Blows that one away. And I talked to Margie the other day, and Margie, I believe you said this last week when we were on here, about how you had a cyst on your ovary that's shrank.
Yes.
Already since this. My blood tests have been the best that they've ever been. And I'm dealing with the congestive heart failure and stuff like that, and ever since I stopped the meds, and again, I'm not telling anybody stop meds. I'm not telling anybody to do this. I'm sharing my story of what worked for me. And when I stopped the meds, and I'm, working with a holistic doctor and working with these patches, I'm like a whole new person. I was foggy. I felt like it was an outer body, like, it was just, it took me weeks to feel like a human being again when I stopped, when I stopped the meds. And it's like night and day, because this is working with the body to support the body, what the body is built to do. The three of us know pain. Everybody watching knows pain. Nobody gets through, goes through life without having something happen as part of the human experience, and I don't know anything that these patches cannot help with, down to anxiety and sleep and all this other stuff. It's just, it gets the body to like that homeostasis in every way. And it's just, again, it's miraculous. It's absolutely amazing. It's the medicine of the future. Now. And I'm not saying it's medicine. It supports the body, but it's what I'm calling, for the lack of a better word, the medicine of the future that's happening now.
Well, think about it. If it is elevating antioxidants and it's decreasing inflammation, and it's giving you an increase in energy, what's going to increase the amount of joy you have and happiness, and in your, it just is great. And then within, you want me to get to the 1 to 3 months?
Yeah, let's go on. Let people know what else they can expect.
Then, so the first few days is the inside. Within 1 to 3 months, the physical changes occur. You're activating your stem cells. It leads to an increase in collagen. And I'm not kidding when I tell you my wrinkles are disappearing.
Right.
I was even going to pay money to get that poison injected in me, but I'm telling you, the increase in collagen, so your skin decreases wrinkles. It increases hair growth, but I'm not really sure because my hair is so thick. I don't know, but it increases hair growth. And even if you don't feel the effects, you just rest assured, the new stem cells may be regenerating an internal organ or tissue before repairing something that you feel. But inside, it's working. Just like we said, you go outside, vitamin D is being produced just from the sunlight. The light energy from the patch is activating all this repair inside your body. Correct? Did I say that all right?
No, that was awesome. And I just want to
Okay.
touch in on that because like so many people, it's sort of like both of you, all three of us had a journey where we had some type of trauma to our body and big
Yes.
trauma, right?
Yeah.
So we had big trauma that happened. And then people expect fast results. It's like, oh, I don't feel something in 1 or 2 days. Well, look, you had trauma over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It's going to
Right.
take time for your body to heal. Take time for you to start elevating those stem cells, right? And like what Margie says is true. It's like just because you may not be seeing it, it's all happening inside, right? So a lot of times when we're telling people to use this product, you really want to give a minimum 3 months to, before you start even noticing some larger changes. But more so like, I think, for the age, depending on how old we are, like I said, we aging ourselves, but we're all in our 50s and 60s. And a good rule of thumb that we always telling people for expectations is like for every decade of your age, try it for 30 days. Right. Because like we got 50 years that we abused our body, but some of us more than others, not by our control.
Right.
But it's like you're not willing to spend 3 to 6 months to see what your body can do naturally. Right? Like what Erin says is true. This is natural. This is not putting supplements, not trying to elevate your omega-6, not trying to give you more vitamin C. This is actually getting your body to repair itself.
Yeah.
Yes. So, do you have something to say? I don't want to interrupt you.
Andy highlighted me. So,
within 3 to 6 months of using this, so say you're saying, okay, it's working, or, I know it's working, but I still don't see anything. It's really active stem cell repair. So you'll then see your stem cells are now actively creating deep healing in your body and repairing damage caused by the aging process, as we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I just want to say something which is probably not on our agenda here, but some people are concerned about are there side effects of it. And Andy, you might be able to explain this more, that detoxing is what's happening in your body by using this. It's like a cleansing in your body. And because of that, and your body, like, how would you explain that to people, why you might have a side effect of or think you have it? Maybe you might feel a little dizziness, or you might have, it's like a stomach ache or something. I know it made me go to the bathroom a lot more because it's cleaning you out, know? So that's a good thing. I'm not embarrassed to tell you that. It's, oh my gosh, it's making me go to the bathroom. Well, isn't that a good thing?
Yes.
So if that's one of the side effects, take it as
I love to dive into that a little bit, because I don't like to call it side effects. I like to call it your body doing what it's designed to do. Right. I think that there's too much of us. It's sort of like what Erin said in the very beginning. We are so controlled by how we think that whenever something happens, you need a pill for it. Right. So you're popping, so you got a stomach ache, you pop a pill, the stomach ache goes away. Well, did the pill take away the stomach ache, or did the pill take the pain that the stomach ache was giving you?
Yes.
So when your body is in pain, that is your body telling you there's something wrong in that area, right? And that's where holistic health comes into. We want to figure out root causes. That's why. So what you're saying, Margie, if you're going to the restroom a lot, and we do have people that go to the restroom a lot, that just means you have so much toxin buildup over the years that your body is now getting it out normally. Right? Your body did not have the capability to take it out. And it's purging it. It's purging all these heavy metals, these chemicals out of your body. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Because I don't want people to stop it just because that was happening. And I just want to make that people aware right now that might happen, but don't stop using the patches.
No, but let me just interject for a second. An important thing for people to do when that is happening is make sure that you're drinking with the electrolytes.
Yes.
Very, very, very important, because it's getting rid of, and listen, we talked about it last week also, between the air, the water, the chemtrails, the soil, the food, there's so many toxins that we're taking in that we don't even know, that we can't see, that we're taking in. And the body is getting rid of it, because that's like Andy said, the body's designed to do that with these X39 patches. So it's important. So, you don't have any, if you get lightheaded or this or whatever, it's not like, oh my God, it means you need the electrolytes, because even if you weren't using the patch and you were losing, you were losing a lot of water or whatever, you would need electrolytes.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make sure that for anybody listening that is using the patch or wants to use the patch, or, is starting to see that, in the body helping to get back to code, what it's designed to do, then that is something. And it's super important to stay hydrated. It's not just with the H2O, not just with the water,
Right.
adding the electrolytes, adding the electrolytes.
Celtic sea salt.
Yeah. And let me
I
also
love that, Erin. You literally read the thought right out of my head, because like, what Margie is saying, if you are going to the restroom a lot, you're losing a lot of fluids. More so important to drink water, and you should be drinking about half your body weight of water with electrolytes anyway, regardless if you're using the patches or not. But when you're using the patches, it's very critical that you do. And then, Margie, some people said they feel lightheaded or headaches. It's part because you're dehydrated, right? Because, the patches is using your light energy and heat energy to create the peptides to activate your stem cells. So, being hydrated is definitely important. So, Erin, thank you for bringing that up.
Yes.
But, for those, and this is like, I don't want people thinking that, I'm having the run for 3 days. Am I going to continue? If it is bad for 2 days, stop for a couple of days. Let it calm down and then continue. I'm not telling you to go painfully through it, right? So always listen to your body.
Yeah, because, if you look at reviews, when you're doing research and stuff, and you might see some negativity, and we're promoting it because we love it and we believe in it, but, there's always some negative Nellies out there.
Right. There's always.
And maybe, it's because you're not hydrating the correct way. And that might be why you have something like that, because it's really working in your benefit, in your, you're healing.
And the other thing also is getting back to the how long you like to wear it for before you start to see results, and wearing it for like a month for every decade that you're alive. Like I would wear it for 6 months before I started seeing results. And when I said I had it within an hour, that was for the dizziness. But it took 6 months before I started to see other things going on within my body. And, I'm using them for a year now, and I feel better every day, but now a year compared to where I was, it's like night and day. I don't even recognize myself, from where I was. And I see people who've been on it and talk to people who've been on these patches for a couple of years, and they were getting like, oh, I don't see results, with heart conditions and these different things. And I read a lot of different things. And they said they didn't see anything until like year 2 or year 3. But if they quit, because I'm honed in on the congestive heart failure thing also, as I'm watching this, I love helping people with whatever if I fix something myself, I want to be able to help other people. And I'm seeing that they're saying, that it's in year 2 or year 3, they started to see these incredible results. But had they stopped, that wouldn't have been the case. Right. So, it's just, the body's healing itself from the inside out. We can't see what these things are doing. We do know that it's activating the stem cells and so much more. I mean, we're talking about stem cells today, but the X39 does so much, so many beautiful things. And it's just a matter of being patient, and over time, and that's what I ask my family and friends and anybody that I told you last week, I tell them, you're doing this because I really believe in this so strongly that, anybody that I know has something. It's inflammation, it's gut problems. If it's not gut problems, it's foggy brain, it's all these different things. And I'm like, you're out of your mind for not doing this. Give it a shot. We're like, my age group is 60 in this, around 60. Give it a shot for 6 months. What have you got to lose?
Erin, you're just making me, sorry, I was just thinking about like, say in your family, heart attacks, heart conditions are in your family, or Alzheimer's, dementias in your family, that could be, you could be predispositioned to have that too, because it's in your family. So imagine using this X39, you're reversing aging like that and repairing stem cells, and you're supposed to have it when you're 80 or something, and now you don't because you just prevented it from happening. Like, this is like the main reason why I'm doing it. I'm trying to prevent things that I might have been destined for, and I'm going to just, try and fix that so I don't get it.
Me too. The preventative, I mean, that's a whole other conversation. The preventative side of these things is extraordinary. Extraordinary.
Yes.
And,
so
and,
reverse aging is really
Margi
what you get. Go ahead.
What Erin and Margi is saying about the preventative side is so important now, because Erin, you hit the nail right on his head, because you said everyone has a condition.
Yeah.
Right. Regardless if it's brain fog, you bum your shoulder working out, you hear a torn rotator cuff. It's just not healing. Well, if you've been using the traditional route and it's been 6 months to a year and it's not healing, why aren't you trying this to see if this is going to help speed up the recovery? Right. If you're having brain fog and you're meditating, you're eating better, you're exercising, and yet you still have brain fog, maybe there's something missing, right? And that's what we're really here today to share with you, is we want everyone to have your body to run at code. I love you saying that, Erin. Your body to be running at code, to be running at peak state, right? We want to be at peak state. We don't want to be, we don't want to be running on crappy fuel. We want to be like optimal, like a thoroughbred racehorse at all times. And there shouldn't be a reason why we're not, right? You know what I'm saying? And today, I just want people to stop blaming it on their age. It's funny. I'm a personal trainer also. I train people from 43 all the way to my oldest is 65. And all my younger ones are always saying, oh, it's because you're a personal trainer, that's why you're fit. And I'm saying, look, if you met me 10 years ago, I was barely able to do a push-up, right? So don't tell me just because I'm a personal trainer, that's why I'm fit. I'm fit is because I take care of my body, and I'm regenerating it, and I'm being preventative and taking care of all the problems that put me there in the first place, right? So,
and Andy, tell people how much younger. Tell people how much younger your body is. No, highlight you. Tell people how much younger your body is.
Yeah, well, going by blood markers, I'm at least 10 years younger.
And blood doesn't lie.
MRI scans, I'm 15 to 20 years younger. And if you go by exercise, I'm 30 years younger. So,
come on.
Yes, because Andy did all the tests before he started X39 and then repeated it after a certain amount of time on it. So this is how he got these observations. Yeah.
And I know my blood test.
Erin says 2 years. 2 years. I've been on the prof for 2 years. And I feel more amazing now than when I started. Not saying I wasn't good to start off with, but I'm like at the next level up there. And it's just amazing.
It is. And I had the blood test done also, just because it was routine, the blood test. So I had blood levels done before I started, and my doctor was just shocked at how good my blood is. The liver functions, the kidney functions, the SGOP, the SG, GP with the liver functions, like all the numbers, the metabolics. They were just floored at how everything was in range. And I said this last week, is most of the time, I don't know if honestly since 1991. If I ever had a whole panel where everything was in range, like a typical blood panel with all of it, I don't think I've ever, my hand to God, I don't think I've ever had one since the cancer, because after the cancer from blood transfusions that I got during that time when they thought I was going to die, I ended up with hepatitis C. They didn't know about hepatitis C in 1991. It was non-A, non-B. So then it was another 6 months of chemo. I was in the study with Schering-Plough, it was interferon and ribavirin. Then it was 3 blood miscarriage, like crazy things over time. So I don't think I've ever had normal within range, like a whole panel in one shot until now. and
Mhm.
the doctor was floored. And I
Yeah.
just, it's to
So
me, and it makes me feel so good, and it's inspiring, for me, for it to just
Mhm.
keep going. Like, that's why I'm on fire. All three of us on this
Yeah.
call are on fire because we know how we felt,
We're so happy.
and we know
Yes.
how we feel now on, thanks to these patches. And we want our family and friends and anybody that, we come into contact with to feel as good as we do. And that's why we're on the call today.
Exactly.
In a recent study, 14 out of 15 people lowered their vascular age by an average of 8 years just after 6 months of using the X39. That was
Which
a
is
study.
amazing for a heart patient.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Right.
It's that's what I'm saying. It's just miraculous.
It is.
Exactly. Exactly. I just want to, we gave so much information out there. I just want to close with one thought.
Okay.
And, I was going to share the video, but I want to ask to make sure we have permission from our other, partners in crime for LifeWave. We have one of our people using LifeWave sharing it with his 96-year-old dad. Right. And, right now, most of us love our parents. Most of us love our grandparents, depending on how old you are. Because Margie, you're a grandma, right? You're a grandma.
Yes,
Amazing.
I am.
Right. And this person shared LifeWave X39 for her dad at 96-year-old. And let me paint the picture for you. This 96-year-old is not like your typical dad. He was on 6 liters of oxygen each day to stay alive. He actually had to be breathing oxygen to stay alive. He cannot breathe and eat at the same time. It's like he'll actually struggle to eat when he's off oxygen. And he was tied to his walker. Like, he's tied to oxygen. He's pulling his oxygen on a walker. And at 96, most people think, well, like I said in the very beginning, oh, is that what he's going to look like when you get old? Well, right now, he's off the oxygen. He's off the walker, and he's doing like 30 push-ups off his kitchen sink. He's riding an electric lawnmower, mowing his own grass. He's saying this is like a new leash on life, right? So for those of you out there thinking, well, I think I'm taking pretty good care of myself. And like Erin says, I can guarantee all of you have 1 or 2 conditions that you don't know about. But just if you are, what about your parents? What about your grandparents? This is something that is going to just change your life completely.
Yes, it is.
I love it. I love it.
Right.
If anybody has any questions about it, well, you can see below, right? We have
Yes,
all.
I love that. So below, we have 3 QR codes. And like I said, whoever you resonate with, please resonate with these 2 beautiful ladies. They're such dear friends of mine, right? The QR codes will go directly to more information on LifeWave. Of course, we got our, me and Erin got our email addresses on there. And, email us, if you have questions, if you want just a little bit help, regardless where you are. Like Erin says, we're here to help people get better in all aspects of space, right? We really are genuinely doing this to help others. But at the same time, we cannot help others unless you help yourself, right? The more you bring up your health, the more you can help others too. That's why we're so, so passionate about LifeWave. So please reach out to us. And, if you're watching this on replay, like I said, scan the QR code, reach out to us, friend us on Facebook,
Yes.
We would love to hear more about, what maybe you're facing, or maybe who we can help with, someone that's facing some joint pains or whatever it may be. We're there to help. So please reach out to us. And closing thoughts, ladies.
Yeah, Margi,
I see that there's even like techniques if you have sinus infections and allergies, which a lot of people are suffering from right now. There's patches for that. Just call and inquire, and we will accommodate you to help you in any way to get comfortable and repair your insides and be happy like we are.
Yeah. And, they say that the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, but the next best time to plant a tree is today. So don't put off feeling, not feeling well, or just feeling that you have to deal with it, or that this is crazy, or not giving, there's no time like today You know,
Mhm.
how, if you started today and you had the opportunity 6 months from now to feel better, you know, heading in the right direction, why wait? You know, why wait? And Andy's right. It's a lie to say that as we get older, then that's all part of it. Just like the man in the wheelchair with the oxygen at 96. Of course, that's to be expected, you know,
Right.
and then he started this, and now he's doing push-ups and he's thriving. And that's what we want for you, to thrive. So don't put it off. You know, start today. Don't put it off for another day. That's my wish for everybody.
Thank you
Agreed.
so much, Erin. That is so touching for both you and Margie. You know, I am so inspired to be sharing, you know, to help people every week on, you know, the Fountain of Youth. And next week, we're going to we're going to talk a little bit about Ozempic. I'll just leave it at that. You know, we're going to talk a little bit about Ozempic and some natural ways that we can help you get off it. But thank you for everyone that's been watching today. Please, please reach out to us. Please share the replays for someone that you think can really benefit from, you know, from these patches, from these products, from someone that is hurting silently. You know, I think this is just share the information, share it wide, and you know, we would love to talk to each and every one of them.
Yeah.
Yes, we will. Till next week.
Till next week. Goodbye, everyone.
We love you guys.
We
Bye.
love you.
Bye.